Computer-delivered IELTS, brought to you by Knowledge Island by Bilal. True, false, and not given. Question 1. People had expected Andy Murray to become the world's top tennis player for at least 5 years before 2016. Answer: false. Because people regarded Andy Murray as a talented outsider who entered but never won the major tournaments for 5 years before 2016. Question 2. The change that Andy Murray made to his rackets attracted a lot of attention. Answer: false. Because he made a small change to his racket by switching to a synthetic string for the mains. Its importance was underestimated. Question 3. Most of the world's top players take a professional racket stringer on tour with them. Answer: not given. Because the paragraph mentions that each racket is individually made to suit the player who uses it. Manufacturers send the rackets to Tampa, Florida, where the frames go through a customization process. There is no mention in the paragraph about taking a professional racket stringer on tour with them. Question 4. Mike and Bob Bryan use rackets that are light, in comparison to the majority of rackets. Answer: false. Because Mike and Bob Bryan explained how they have adjusted not only racket length, but even experimented with different kinds of paint. The rackets they use now weigh more than the average model, and also have a denser string pattern. Question 5. Werner Fischer played with a spaghetti-strung racket that he designed himself. Answer: not given. Because there is no mention in the paragraph whether the spaghetti-strung racket used by the amateur German tennis player Werner Fischer was made by himself, or not. Question 6. The weather can affect how professional players adjust the strings on their rackets. Answer: true. Because the paragraph mentions that the choice of the strings, and the tension with which they are installed, is something that nearly all professional players experiment with. They will continually change it depending on various factors, including the court surface, climatic conditions, and game styles. Question 7. It was believed that the change Pete Sampras made to his rackets contributed to his strong serve. Answer: true. Because the paragraph mentions that much of the serving power of U.S. professional player Pete Sampras was attributed to the addition of 4 to 5 lead weights onto his rackets. Question 8. Mike and Bob Bryan made changes to the types of dash used on their racket frames. Answer: paint. The paragraph mentions that Mike and Bob Bryan adjusted not only racket length, but even experimented with different kinds of paint. Question 9. Players were not allowed to use the spaghetti-strung racket because of the amount of dash it created. Answer: topspin. The paragraph mentions that, when the amateur German tennis player Werner Fischer started playing with the spaghetti-strung racket, it created a string bed that generated so much topspin that it was quickly banned by the International Tennis Federation. Question 10. Changes to rackets can be regarded as being as important as players' diets, or the dash they do. Answer: training. The paragraph mentions that, after the ban of spaghetti-strung racket, modification became a regularity, and today, it is an aspect of the game that is equal in significance to players' nutrition, or training. Question 11. All rackets used to have natural strings, made from the dash of animals. Answer: intestines. The paragraph mentions that, at one time, all tennis rackets were strung with natural gut made from the outer layer of sheep or cow intestines, which later changed in the early 1990s, with the development of synthetic strings. Question 12. Pete Sampras had metal put into the frames of his rackets. Answer: weights. The paragraph mentions that much of the serving power of U.S. professional player Pete Sampras was attributed to the addition of 4 to 5 lead weights onto his rackets. Question 13. Gonçalo Oliveira changed the on his racket handles. Answer: grips. The paragraph mentions that the professional Portuguese player, Gonçalo Oliveira, replaced the original grips of his rackets with something thinner, because they had previously felt uncomfortable to hold. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get more updates. Matching information. Which paragraph contains the following information? Question 14. A reference to a denial of involvement in piracy. Answer. Paragraph D. This paragraph mentions about Amarna letters, which covered many pressing issues, including piracy. In the letters, the king of Alashia rejected Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten's claims of connection with the Luka, a pirate group. The king assured Akhenaten he was prepared to punish any of his subjects involved in piracy. Question 15. Details of how a campaign to eradicate piracy was carried out. Answer. Paragraph G. This paragraph gives details about how Mediterranean was cleansed from pirates. In 67 BCE, Pompey was granted vast funds to combat pirates. The entire Mediterranean was divided into 13 districts, each having its own fleet and a commander. After cleansing one district of pirates, the fleet would join another in the next district. The process continued until the entire Mediterranean was free of pirates. Question 16. A mention of the circumstances in which states in the ancient world would make use of pirates. Answer. Paragraph C. This paragraph mentions about how governments in the 1st and 2nd millennia BCE made use of pirate services, especially during wartime. A pirate fleet would usually serve in the first wave of attack, preparing the way for the navy. Question 17. A reference to how people today commonly view pirates? Answer. Paragraph A. This paragraph mentions that, when one talk about pirates today, an image of a crew of misfits, daredevils, and adventurers in command of a tall, sailing ship in the Caribbean Sea, comes to our mind. Question 18. An explanation of how some people were encouraged not to return to piracy. Answer. Paragraph G. This paragraph mentions that Pompey wanted a long-term solution to the problem of pirates. Therefore, many pirates were offered land in fertile areas, located far from the sea. As a result, Rome got productive farmers, that further boosted its economy. Question 19. A mention of the need for many sailing vessels to stay relatively close to land. Answer. Paragraph B. This paragraph highlights that, before the invention of advanced ships, like ocean-going caravels in the 15th century, ancient ships were not well equipped to cross long distances over open water. Instead, they relied on routes near the coastline, which were safer and more navigable. This limitation made it necessary for most vessels to stay close to land, to ensure their journeys were feasible and less risky. Question 20 and 21. Choose two correct answers. Which two of the following statements does the writer make about inhabitants of the Mediterranean region in the ancient world? Answer. In paragraph B, it is mentioned that inhabitants of Mediterranean region relied heavily on marine resources, including fish and salt. This paragraph also mentions that knowledge of the local area helped the pirates to avoid retaliation once a state fleet arrived. Thus, option D and option B are correct answers. Question 22 and 23. Choose two correct answers. Which two of the following statements does the writer make about piracy and ancient Greece? Answer. In paragraph E, the writer talked about the ancient Greek writer Homer, who in his works the Iliad and the Odyssey, not only condoned, but praised the lifestyle and actions of pirates. The writer also gave reference of Athenian ambassadors, who made a detour from their official travel, to capture a ship sailing from Egypt, taking the wealth found on board for themselves. Thus, option C and option E are correct answers. Questions 24 to 26. Complete the summary. Use only one word, from the text, for each answer. Ancient Rome, and piracy. Piracy was an issue ancient Rome had to deal with, but it also brought some benefits for Rome. For example, pirates supplied slaves, that were important for Rome's industries. However, attacks on vessels, transporting grain to Rome, resulted in calls for punishment, or the pirates responsible. Nevertheless, piracy continued, with some pirates demanding a ransom, for the return of the Roman officials they captured. Choose the correct answer. Question 27. What point does the writer make about misinformation in the first paragraph? Answer. Option D. In the first paragraph, the writer mentions that misinformation is an inevitable part of the world. It is sometimes accidentally shared, and sometimes deliberately promoted. The writer is of opinion that deceiving others can offer an apparent opportunity to gain strategic advantage, to motivate others to action, or even to protect interpersonal bonds. Question 28. What does the writer say about the role of technology? Answer. Option A. In the second paragraph, the writer highlights a dual role of technology. On one hand, technology amplifies the reach and impact of misinformation by enabling it to spread rapidly and widely. On the other hand, the same technology holds the potential to counter misinformation, suggesting that the tools for correction and truth dissemination could emerge from the very patterns of mass communication that enable its spread. Question 29. What is the writer doing in the fourth paragraph? Answer. Option C. In the fourth paragraph, the writer is outlining 3 key observations about misinformation in the contemporary mass media environment. These observations emphasize the challenges posed by misinformation, including its initial believability, the lack of effective filtering by media, and the difficulty of countering it once widely disseminated. The writer is drawing attention to these points to emphasize their importance and encourage awareness and action among researchers, policymakers, and the general public. Question 30. What point does the writer make about regulation in the USA? Answer. Option D. In the sixth paragraph, the writer mentions that regulation in the United States is primarily reactive, rather than proactive when it comes to misinformation. Regulatory agencies, such as the FDA, focus on detecting and addressing issues after misinformation has been broadcast rather than preventing it from appearing in the first place. While programs like the FDA's Bad Ad Initiative are commendable, They are limited in their ability to prevent misinformation from initially reaching audiences, and even corrected misinformation can continue to influence public attitudes. Questions 31 to 36. Complete the summary using the list of words. Choose the correct answer and move it into the gap. What happens when people encounter misinformation? Although people have frequent exposure to misinformation, there is debate about precisely how, and when we label something as true, or untrue. The philosophers Descartes and Spinoza had different ideas about how people engage with information. While Descartes believed that people accept, or reject information after considering whether it is true or not, Spinoza argued that people accepted all information they encountered, and by default misinformation, and did not verify or reject it until afterwards. Moreover, Spinoza believed that a distinct mental operation is involved in these stages. Recent research has provided additional evidence for Spinoza's theory, and it would appear that people accept all encountered information as if it were true, even if this is for an extremely short period, and do not label the information as true or false until later. This is consistent with the fact that the resources for skepticism and the resources for perceiving and encoding are in different locations in the brain. Yes, no, and not given. Question 37. Campaigns designed to correct misinformation will fail to achieve their purpose if people are unable to understand them. Answer: yes. In the seventh paragraph, the writer agrees with the statement by mentioning that, for corrective campaigns to be persuasive, audiences need to be able to comprehend them, which requires either effort to frame messages in ways that are accessible, or effort to educate and sensitize audiences to the possibility of misinformation. Question 38. Attempts to teach elementary school students about misinformation have been opposed. Answer: not given. In the seventh paragraph, it is mentioned that some audiences might be unaware of the potential for misinformation, which suggests the utility of media literacy efforts as early as elementary school. However, there is no mention of opposition to such efforts. Therefore, the statement is not given in the paragraph. Question 39. It may be possible to overcome the problem of misinformation in a relatively short period. Answer: no. In the last paragraph, the writer mentions that, we live at a time when widespread misinformation is common. Yet at this time, many people also are passionately developing potential solutions and remedies. The journey forward undoubtedly will be a long and arduous one. This statement emphasizes that addressing misinformation will require sustained, long-term efforts, rather than a quick solution. Question 40. The need to keep up with new information is hugely exaggerated in today's world. Answer: not given. In the last paragraph, there is no mention whether the need to keep up with new information is exaggerated. It focuses on the challenges of combating misinformation, and the need for long-term, coordinated efforts. There is no mention or discussion of whether the urgency to stay updated with new information is overstated. Therefore, the statement is not given. Don't forget to comment, like, and share our video.